Plus, it's
Yeah, but I think that does go into the hunting aspect of survival, though, is learning how to like skin and quarter sort of deal, and get the right cuts of the animal
Yeah.
for consumption. I'm definitely no expert. I know nothing about that sort of stuff, but I'm curious to see if we do have a. I'm sure that we have a member of our group, or we know someone who knows someone that knows how to do that. But I mean, there's always YouTube and
Oh yeah.
I guess Google if you're curious for hunting, like skinning and quartering a rabbit or something.
I want
Yeah.
to get. There's a book saved on my list on Amazon. It goes into specifically how to harvest different animals like rabbits, deer, like raccoons, chickens, just kind of general like farm animals. I want to do that because I mean, again, it's something. Go ahead.
Sorry. Speaking of skinning, the skins themselves, the fur and the leather and the stuff that you're getting off of them can be utilized for your equipment.
Oh yeah,
your gear.
I mean, yeah, I think if the I I don't agree with the notion of let me go out and hunt just for hunting's sake. Like,
you got to use every part of the animal.
I'm not gonna knock some if that's your hobby. You grew up doing it or something. I totally completely get it. But hunting just to hunt, I believe that if you I don't have anything against it, especially when it comes to survival. I don't have anything against it, but I think utilizing that animal because it has kind of like graced you with its sort of life-giving I guess sort of nature.
So the Native Americans basically all approached the hunting with the use every part of the animal, don't waste anything kind of approach.
And it goes into armor making too, and recycling is use everything you can. Try not to waste anything, but especially with hunting, if you successfully know how to do all that stuff, you can get clothing, you can get meat, you can get
arrowheads.
You can get arrowheads. Yeah, you can use the bones themselves to like craft certain things.
And bows and arrows aren't entirely impractical in an apocalyptic scenario because they're quiet
on Amazon and not need a background check.
Really buy a what now? A bow and arrow?
You can buy a crossbow and a bow and arrow on Amazon with no background check.
Yeah.
They're not
interesting. Daryl Dixon in the building.
I've only shot a crossbow once. It's fun, but
I bought one of those little crossbows. Oh yeah, those things. I was like, I don't want to go out and like shoot anything with it, like a animal, but I kind of want to see what this thing can do. Just like oh my gosh. If that, I'm not gonna lie. If you against a bear and if you're against a bear and that's the only thing you have, just drop it and run. Throw it in the other direction as a sort of distraction. You would be better off fucking running or something.
Offer as a gift to the bear. Maybe he'll forgive you. Oh, cool, a crossbow. Oh no, the bear has a crossbow.
Oh no.
I made it more powerful.
Now it can hunt me.
Bear has equipped crossbow.
I have become the prey.
Actually, that is something that's terrifying. Is that with lack of people, you'll see a lot more animals like coming into the city.
Oh yeah,
because they're already pretty well regulated as far as like they've got animal control. They just are generally skittish around vehicles and people.
Yeah,
but that is the one thing that was on a really good show called Life Without People. It takes the hypothetical scenario.
Yes, I remember that.
Just overnight, just disappeared.
I Am Legend kind of goes into it as well.
It was like, I remember it was like, how long would the Hoover Dam survive or whatever? Like, okay, well, it takes these amount of people to work. All that electrical grid stuff, how long buildings would last, cars, all that stuff. That's super, super interesting show for sure.
It said for beer breweries, like they would, based on the pressure for certain ones of them, they would only last like a couple days
Oh wow.
Because they would eventually just explode, or
that's surprising.
Rupture, because they're constantly being monitored because it's under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's definitely surprising. I know. I know. Just in general, like having like human activity, will drive off a lot of animals, even bears.
Oh, totally.
They don't like human activity, sort of deal.
Yeah, they're kind of skittish.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not like every single bear, every single dog, or whatever, every animal you run across, but there's some definitely some ballsy videos out there where individuals will film themselves in the woods, like warding off a bear with just the sound of their voice. It makes the bear extremely uncomfortable, sort of deal. But that's an interesting thing to go over, is how to, especially for the average Joe living in a suburban area or just a more urban environment, is really how to survive off of the land. Not even just the necessary tools, but like I said, the skills, exposure, experience, sort of deal.
Oh yeah, that's one reason I kind of want to have a little plot of land to myself, is I'd like to actually learn to grow stuff. We do a little bit at the farm. We tried it more often. We tried like strawberries, but we constantly had pests. I guess the one good thing about if you do have a garden and you have means to hunt and know how to, if you set up that garden and a deer happens to wander in said garden, you can use it as kind of like natural bait.
Yeah,
because they'll come
it's true.
There was this what was it? It was funny. It was this from this TV show. It was talking about this marijuana farm, and deer kept coming up and eating the leaves.
Oh my god.
They couldn't do anything about the deer. They didn't want to shoot them because they would draw attention to the farm, because it's a marijuana farm. But
give me 1 second, guys. I gotta answer the door real quick. I'll be right back.
You're good. But yeah, definitely need to get that book and a couple other like reference materials. That's another good thing I'd say stock up on, is if you can find reference materials.
Yeah.
It's good to know the skill like off the cuff if you don't have the book near you, but if you have it, it's like, okay, even if you don't have access to the internet, you can still read it or like do a step by step.
Yeah. And speaking of books and access to the internet, if you do not have access to the internet, the viability and the importance of books increases in general.
And board games.
Yes. So please don't burn your books. Unless it's a very last ditch thing.
I miss?
If you know how to produce fire in other ways, then do that.
Okay.
Well, so we were talking about how books, if we lose internet because of circumstances, like the you just can't maintain the servers and whatnot because everything's gone to crap, books become vastly more important. Not only for the sum of knowledge that they provide, but for practical uses as well. And I personally am opposed to burning books, even if it is to survive. That's why I think it's important to have other ways of doing things. If you can figure out how to burn something else, then do it, because you want to keep the summation of human knowledge alive as much as you possibly can.
And that's another thing to talk about as well, is actually recording the history as you live through it in that sort of scenario. Because I know that with the events that we go to, we like to stay along and kind of develop the lore as we go along. And of course, it's a beautiful thing, because like if something completely left field happens at an event, well, it's like, okay, well, how does my character and our group sort of get over this obstacle, and how does that tie in with the story sort of deal? I think with a real life application, sort of scenario, is actively like recording the history throughout, and I think everyone has played their fair share of post-apocalyptic video games, from like Last of Us, Left 4 Dead, Fallout being a big one. And there's like little letters that are left behind from people, and little excerpts from what happened here and what happened there. But keeping kind of like a main dialogue of history would definitely, in my opinion, it's not like the top tier of the list, but I think it's crucial for people who are going to be growing up in the waste.
Oh,
like that's the
definitely.
only life
Well,
that they've ever known, sort of deal.
and I guess that kind of brings me to the whole purpose of the whole YouTube channel thing that I'm going for, is that
it's a
ultimately
digital archive.
outside of doing this show with y'all and other Wastelanders and playing games together and stuff like that, I want to do my character story, the Overseer's Logs, where I talk about what my characters experience from the moment that I'm thrust out into the wasteland.
Oh yeah,
there's
talked
a
about this
time
plenty.
skip, obviously, because there's a lot of time that I'm not. There's a gap where, like, I am living in the shelter, and I'm not out in the wasteland. You know, but what I want to focus on with the logs is covering what happens out in the wasteland. Maybe one day I'll write up a short story about the time in the shelter or whatever. But the primary thing is trying to cover what's happening outside the wasteland in the form of kind of a diary-esque way. Yeah. And I really need to get on that, to be honest, because that's the primary thing I wanted to do with the channel, to be original and get a potential audience out of that because of the originality of it.
It seems like apocalyptic stuff is kind of coming on the up and up now. There's been a lot of people joining in for the events that we go to, and just in the interest groups on Facebook and wherever.
Oh yeah, I think you're casting your net in a pretty wide audience for sure.
Yeah, I just have to reach out. I'm right now like very small. I mean, what, 8 subs? And most of them are people I know in some way or form. So, like, I'd like to grow. I'm not sure if I'm aiming to monetize anytime soon. That's kind of like, we'll wait and see. But the main thing is just getting this stuff out there.
Yeah, and even if, like, for my opinion, even if like nothing crazy happens, like you're not the next big YouTuber, I like doing these, and it's a fun digital like scrapbook. I can't wait to look back.
Absolutely.
Look back and just kind of listen to how we were, what we were doing.